is Catherine Bomer. I teach at Pleasant Hill Elementary in Austin, Texas. I teach 5th grade. I teach in what's called South Austin. I would call it probably working class, blue collar. Most of my parents work in stores, clerks in stores, or like a manager at a McDonald's or something like that. It's a difficult community to teach in. It has a lot of challenges because parents, some of them work 2 or 3 jobs actually to try to make ends meet, and so there is not a lot of support for the children at home. All right, now we're ready for read aloud. Remember we stopped yesterday before the end of the chapter, and I wanted to do that on purpose because I wanted to talk about what you were thinking about what was going to happen and how your predictions were coming true and what changed. We start the class every day with a read aloud. It's a very rich time in terms of literacy. And this particular book that I've chosen to read at the end of my school year, it's called The Color of My Words by Lynn Joseph. I want to start by going back to a quote from the chapter before this one, where she says, Ana Rosa says, "What I didn't know was that my own future was galloping toward me like a riderless horse, and with it were a lot of questions that only I could answer." Remember we talked about what that quote might mean? The future was galloping toward her like a riderless horse. And now that a lot of stuff has happened, I'm wondering what you're thinking. Raya?
I think that, like, since she found her real dad and who he is, she's gonna, like, live with him or something. And maybe her mom's gonna let them have a few days with him because she haven't seen him since she was born. And the man who she's living with now, she doesn't know if he's a stranger or if he's her real dad or anything. Or he's just a man to her now that she knows that that's not her dad.
I feel that the conversation is really the key piece. That's where the learning happens for kids and for me. So we start on the discussion right away.
It would really change how a child thinks of her parents because you don't know if you can trust them anymore, if what they say is true, or if if they're even your parents for that matter.
In a way, her whole life that she's known is a lie now. Absolutely. Amanda?
I agree with her because, like, if you haven't seen your father, like, in a long time and you think the person that you're living with is the father, but he's really a stranger, so it's like you can't really trust them anymore or anything like that. So I agree with Miranda.
I kind of agree with Andres and Miranda because if you've lived with that person for your whole life, he's not a stranger because you know what his favorites are, you know what he doesn't like, you know what he likes, and he's kind of like your real dad because, like, if you haven't seen your real dad in a long time, he's the stranger.
So those little taglines that I agree with, I disagree with, I want to add on, all those taglines come from a group called the Institute for Learning in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They call it Accountable Talk, and it has these certain structures to it that enable conversations. It shows that you can name the person that you were listening to, and you can show that you were thinking, that you were hearing what they said, and that you have a thought about what they said. I'm seeing a lot of hands that have already talked, so what I'm going to do is finish this chapter, and then I'm going to have you and your conversation partners. So all the things that you're wanting to say right now, just make a little note in your notebook so you can say it to your conversation partners. And as I finish this chapter, think about, now that we have this new information, how is it changing the book? How is it changing Ana Rosa? How is it changing her family situation? How is it changing your understanding of what's already happened in the book? And that, do we now know about what she meant by her future was galloping toward her like a riderless horse, and she didn't even know it? Okay, I'm going to back up a little so you've heard the first two paragraphs already. For some time I floated gazing at the sky. Then from far off I heard whispery words. It was a rhyme that I used to sing to my mother. Del cielo cayó una rosa, pero no se desajó. Roberto? Desajó? Desajó? What'd you say? Okay, good, thanks. Desajó means destroyed. Mi madre me quiere mucho, pero más la quiero yo. And that means a rose fell from the sky, but it was not destroyed. My mother loves me a lot, but I love her more. The Color of My Words by Lynn Joseph. It's a remarkable book because it has, for me, it has elements of all the things I love to teach and all the things I believe in. So the main character is a writer. She's 12 years old and she's a writer, and she's a very serious writer. She writes in poems, she writes in prose, and the book is really about the power of words to make change, make social change. Writing is social action, which is one of my themes, and it's also about writing to heal. One girl's words, I thought, can they be that powerful? It was time to find out. I would write a poem, I decided, and I would give it to Mommy and Poppy, and they would know then how words are everything and nothing, all at the same time. Because the man on the porch drinking his rum is my Poppy. Whether I like him or not, he is my Poppy, and the man on the mule is a story. Conversation partners, what do you make of that? Words are everything and nothing all at the same time. And the man on the porch is my Poppy, and the man on the mule is a story. What do you think? During the read aloud, I broke the kids into conversation partners, and definitely more kids feel comfortable to talk in those small partnerships than in the whole group. It happens in every classroom that there's a dominant group of kids, and so you have to build in structures for the quiet voices. You are having a lot of connections with that. And at this point, I'm asking the children to think about how to bring quiet voices into the club.
Her stepdad left for all the days, and he's probably thinking of, and he's probably doing that because he doesn't know why he left her for that many days with no money. Because he just went out to go drink.
Every day? He drinks every day, right?
Yeah. Sometimes not on Sundays though, because that's the day that he taught her how to dance. Remember, she said that
She was scared to dance, and he was saying, come on, let's dance, and all that. She said, I don't know how.
And he said, listen to the beach.
Real thing. Like when you said why she wanted to believe that the guy was a story, because she didn't want to believe that that was her fault, real fault.
Her brother said, in the story that he's gonna buy her a notebook every month. That's not her real brother?
Yeah,
It is?
on his mom, with his mom, and on Hilla too, but their dad, that's not her dad, but that is their dad.
She hasn't even met him yet. 'Cause
She might not know what kind of guy her real dad is.
I think it was a metaphor when they used riderless horse, because a riderless horse is crazy, and when she found out about her dad, her feelings about what had happened were all over the place, and she didn't know what to think. And it's kind of like getting on a horse that is without a saddle, it's wild, and you've never even...
I like that connection. Her feelings are all crazy like that. Matthew? By the end of the year, I'm really looking for a very deep level of conversation. I believe there's not one meaning in a text that I have and that they're supposed to get, but rather that we all bring what we bring to the book based on what we've experienced in our lives, other things we've read, and we can put all those out into the mix and come out with a totally different reading at the end.
Whenever she said that it's a story, most stories are fiction, they're lies. and her whole life has been a lie.
Yeah, it's a story she doesn't want to believe, right? I want, as I start to read the next chapter, I want you to be thinking about this, this wonderful metaphor that you bring up of her life being like a story. But what really broke the silence and put the man on the mule far from everyone's minds was the news that the government wanted to buy our land. The government wanted to buy our land. Hold on. I just want those words to sink in.
I think somebody at the beginning of the book had said something about, I think it was Miranda, that they can't do anything. I mean, if they all stand up to stand up and say that somebody can be a writer without being president or something. Maybe that's what they're going to do this time, except not letting them take their land. Or buy their land.
Maybe what's going to be what they do?
Stand up against them. Stand up against the government.
And how are they going to stand up? Like what are they going to use? What tool are they going to use, you said?
Ana Rosa, maybe. Maybe with her writing or something.